and you're live.
Hey everyone, how you doing today? Welcome to Talk Sober. Good to see you all on here. I want to start off today by telling you a little bit about my road to sobriety, my road to recovery, and what happened, and maybe some of the self-sabotage that I did. I thought about that I had to get sober for years before I actually was able to get sober. I, sorry about that. We got to turn that off. There we go. So, as I said, I tried to get sober for a few years. And, I think the first time I really tried, I went to the doctor. And the doctor said, you need to do something about your detox, and that's something, if you guys have any detox symptoms, you're trying to quit and all that, you need to see a doctor. And I went and they gave me some medicine to help me and told me, go to AA meetings and you need to get involved and things like that. And so I took the meds, went home, and went back to my same old thing. And, I got sober for a couple of weeks. That's about it. Then I started drinking again. And I tried half-heartedly for a few more years here and there, or tried to limit my drinking, but, ended up hiding my drinking from my spouse at the time and things like that. And, I was never able to quit for quite a while. And, finally, things just came crashing down in my life. And, I'm sure many of you have experienced that in your journey to sobriety, or your ongoing journey to sobriety. And it happened to me. And, finally, I just gave up. And I told everybody I was an alcoholic. I have to quit. I don't know what to do. And people helped me get into a rehab. I got into that rehab, and I sobered up. I learned a lot about alcoholism, so much. I learned how the mind works, and the mind works in the alcoholic state, and how we need to work towards getting sober and get that sober mindset. And I learned all this stuff, and I got out, and I kind of did the same thing that I did when I went and saw that doctor a few years earlier. I just kind of went home and did the same old thing I was doing before. And I started drinking again. And this time I was just out of control. I mean, I was drinking more than ever. And life once again came crashing down on me. And eventually I had a medical issue. It landed me in the hospital, got in that coma. I was in there for a few weeks, and, it almost killed me. And, I finally woke up. And I woke up literally, and I woke up figuratively. My mind woke up. I really surrendered. I decided I'd do whatever I had to do to get sober. Now, what was the difference between the other times I tried to get sober and that time? I mean, maybe it was just the fact that I almost died, and deep down inside, something about me, I didn't want to die. Maybe I wanted to keep going. Maybe it was as simple as that. Or maybe it was, in those first few times and those many times I tried to quit drinking, I was self-sabotaging. And I mean, what kind of things might I have been doing to self-sabotage? I mean, maybe I was just simply afraid of being successful in my sobriety and what was going to happen. Because with that success comes more responsibility. You start getting back into life, and people start counting on me for things, and nobody counted on me when I was drinking because I drove everybody out of my life. Maybe I was afraid of that. So a lot of it could have been the fear, or the fear of the fear of, here I am being all successful and stuff, and then what if I start drinking and go down the tubes again? Then everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to know Terry's this loser. He's not this successful guy. It was all these fears of what other people were thinking, and things like that were part of my self-sabotaging. The other thing that I mentioned was just that I'd get this solution, or this solution was I was kind of guided towards this solution, but then I wouldn't follow through. I'd go home and get back into those same habits that I did before, those habits of go home, watch bad TV, sit around, do nothing, and not help my self-esteem. Just there I am, sitting at home, not being productive, not able to work, not able to see people, just because I just wanted to isolate. Maybe that was some of it. There's a lot that a person can do to self-sabotage, and there's a lot of things that we can do to not self-sabotage. We can we can get active with other sober alcoholics. We can do all sorts of things. We can try. A lot of what we talk about is is realizing that you are not your thinking. So, we let these thoughts go and go and go, and we end up overthinking, and we start to let anxiety get the best of us, and it drives us down this hole. And, for me, getting sober was really trying to simplify things in life. Try not to overthink things. Just try to concentrate on being sober, living a better life than I did before. Not living the perfect life. That's way too much pressure. I don't know if I can handle that. But just doing the best I can on a day-to-day basis. And it was really, really kind of that simple for me. Just trying not to self-sabotage. And I'm not saying I don't self-sabotage now. I do. But nowadays I have these tools that I can use so I can recognize it. And that's a really important thing for me, is being able to recognize these things. Like the people that frustrate me or make me angry. And rather than reacting, I can step back, I can pause, I can wait before I, come up and start screaming and yelling at them and get all this anxiety in my head, and then trying to calm it down. And maybe that thought of alcohol, because alcohol was a solution before to calm those anxiety thoughts, maybe that might come to be the answer for me. So rather than getting in those situations, I try to stay out of them and back away. So what are your thoughts, Marcus?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of self-sabotage is something that we make up to be a big thing in our mind, but it's actually just daily life. And if we understand what's going on, because I used to wonder why I didn't do what I knew I needed to do. I wanted to be successful in business, but there were certain things that I didn't want to do. And it led to procrastination, and then it led to me saying, why am I self-sabotaging? I mean, I know I can get this result. I know I can get this outcome. Why am I just not doing what I needed to do? In sobriety, very much the same thing. When I first tried to get sober, I would go 2 or 3 weeks, and, I wouldn't have a drink, and then all of a sudden I would have a drink. And I'd be like, why am I self-sabotaging? What's going on here? And what I had to realize is what the cause was of the two things. Now, when I was in my work and I was trying to do things, I realized that I suffered from procrastination. And procrastination, at its root, is an anger management problem. A lot of people don't talk about this because they're like, oh, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which actually is physically impossible. That phrase was not made to be used the way it's used today, because you cannot humanly possible pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not going to happen. If you try to pull yourself up by your shoes, you're just going to get your feet in your face or knees in your face or something like that. And if you start to understand that there is an issue of anger management, the issue was, deep down, if I was honest with myself, I thought that the world owed me a bunch of money just for being me. Why the hell should I have to go work? Why should I have to do these things? I don't want to do these menial tasks. I don't want to clean the dishes. I don't want to make this video or make this piece of content. And I had to realize it was really anger over not getting what I wanted. And then with alcoholism, I had to realize that there was a chemical dependency part at play. I wasn't fighting my mind. A lot of people, they say, oh, well, alcoholism is about fighting your mind. Yeah, once you've been sober a while, it's all a mind game. But when you're in the grips of alcoholism and the alcohol's not leaving your system, you're fighting chemical dependency. And I don't care what you do, the chemical's gonna win, right? I don't care if I think I'm some upstanding, great, wonderful person. It's like they say on the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. On the Pirates of the Caribbean, she's out in the middle of the ocean on the sand with the pirate, and the pirate goes, hey, you want some rum? And she says, no, I don't want that. That turns even the most upstanding human being into the most vile creature. Now, some of us alcoholics can relate to that, but the fact of the matter is she said, hey, it takes an upstanding person and puts him in the dirt in terms of how he's responding and reacting in the world. And it's something that that person they can't solve. You can't solve a chemical dependency issue by thinking about it. It's a chemical issue, right? This is something that's fascinated me for a long time, thinking, okay, I could be going along just fine, but if I don't have food for 5 days, or I only drink Diet Coke for 5 days, or I have too much coffee, all bets are off. Because what's going to happen is that's going to affect the working of my mind, the way my mind works. And see, what happens is we get hung up on the thoughts. Terry, like he was saying, he gets angry at the person. All right, that has nothing to do with the person. Sure, some people might piss you off. Sure, some people might make you angry. But what happens is the way that his mind thinks about that issue has been altered chemically. It's the same thing. You go on a road trip like Terry went on. You drive for 18 hours straight. You're a little loopy, right? You get out of the car. You feel like you're still in the car. You're like, what the hell's going on? Someone comes up to you and you're hungry and you don't know what to do and you're angry and irritated. And now you can chalk that up as, well, Terry's just self-sabotaging. He really doesn't want to go on a road trip, or Marcus really doesn't want to get his work done, or he'd rather just be a drunk. Well, maybe, maybe not. What if there's something bigger at play? And what if the exact reason that you're trying to fight your self-sabotage is the same reason you're self-sabotaging in the first place? What if it didn't matter? And what if you just had this underlying belief of what you think life should be like, and you're hung up on it? Because a lot of us have this belief. When you get angry at someone, you have the belief that that person should treat you different. Damn it, I deserve to go ahead of that person in traffic. He's got a slow little jalopy. I mean, I got a fast car. I should be in the fast lane. You should be in the jalopy lane. That's how it should go. And we have these ideas of the way the world should act for us, as if we're the only person in the world. And you self-sabotage because maybe you're afraid of what you're going to get. Maybe maybe you're just lazy. But what if you come to grips with the fact that the things that you need to do aren't really that hard to do in the first place? Is it hard to get sober? Hell yeah. Is it hard to stay sober? Not really. Has to do with what you do every single day. What are you going to do every day? You want to be healthy? Eat an apple. Go for a walk. Stop going to the McDonald's. Sorry, disclaimer, McDonald's is fine. I don't want any lawsuits from McDonald's because they got a little bit more money than me. But it's not exactly the healthiest food. I think we all know that. And if we understand that it's the little tiny things that build up sobriety over time, that is the key. And what you got to do is you got to figure out what's going to keep you sober, not going to the bar, reading a book, changing your thoughts. And you got to figure out what you're going to do every day, regardless of how you feel. As alcoholics, we live our life based on how we feel. I want to feel good, so I drink. I want to feel different, so I alter it. I want to feel this, so I go to the bar. And we're basing our life on how we feel. And guess what? Contrary to the popular movie The Secret, which, it's a great movie for legal terms, but as far as the philosophy, I think it's kind of flawed. I think there's an inherent issue with the fact that people think the universe owes you what you want. The universe doesn't owe you shit. Doesn't even owe me sobriety. Doesn't owe me anything. Anything I have is a gift. And when you wake up with gratitude saying, hey, I don't need this, I don't need that, I'm just going to live. And it doesn't matter if I wake up. Like today, I woke up late. I was going to sleep in, but people woke me up and they're like, hey, you got to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to wake up. I want to stay in bed. It's like 90 degrees out already. I don't want to go outside. But I got up anyway, and I did what I had to do. Now, I could get up in a grumpy mood, and I could be angry at the world that I had to get up. Or I could say, I'm going to be okay. It's all right. Woke up a little early. Maybe I'll, get something done early. But I think if we understand that the root of self-sabotage is not this deep-rooted thing, it's really probably just chalked up to laziness and being apathetic, not caring. Hey, I'd rather go drink. That's the easy route. And for far too long, we've been taking the easy route with everything. And now it's time to say, I'm going to create a life that I don't have to run from. I'm going to create a life that I don't have to self-sabotage. I'm going to say, so what if I do? What if I am sober for 30, 40, 50 years? What if I do get successful? What if I do finally get what I want? What if my marriage is fixed? Some people are afraid of these things, but you don't have to be, right? And you're afraid, usually, because it's going to reveal something about you that you don't like. Well, newsflash, when you become an alcoholic, it kind of shoves everything you don't like about yourself right in your face. It says, look, you're an ass. I know you thought you were good, but you're really an ass. And you have to come to grips with the fact that there are some things about yourself you don't like. But when we understand and we have empathy for other people and empathy for ourselves in understanding, hey, you know what? I am the way I am because of the way things happened in my life and the way I chose to respond to them. Up until now, I didn't have a choice. But now, I have a choice. I've been taken out of the matrix, and now I see that life has been on autopilot, and now I don't have to be on autopilot anymore.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned a couple things. One is the gratitude, and that's huge in my life, not just my recovery, my life. So as Marcus had mentioned, this road trip, I took this long road trip, and I have this camper that I pull behind my truck, and if I don't know if any of you have done that before, but when you're rolling a camper, you're basically your camper is a little house. So you're basically you're pulling an earthquake, and I went 2,300 miles, and you're pulling an earthquake. So things go wrong. But what did I do before I did it? This is some of the things I do in recovery. It is the same thing I did for this trip that I took. We went 2,300 miles. We went through 3 states, did all this stuff, stopped along the way. Well, the one thing is I didn't drive for 18 hours a day. I planned. I had all these plans that I took and tried to not drive more than 6, 7 hours a day. And it wasn't every day. It was here and there, and take a day and enjoy where we're at. But that was one of the things, and I learned all of the equipment on the camper. So I learned what to do in sobriety. That's what I've done as well. I try to learn about sobriety, learn about alcoholism, learn about these things. And for the camper, I did that. Learned about how these things work, how to know when the poop tank is full, disgusting things I don't want to do, but I have to learn those things so I know what to do. That was another thing. Another thing is that living in gratitude aspect of it. I learned to enjoy the journey, the drive itself, not be in a hurry, so that guy that cuts me off doesn't piss me off. I got cut off and things like that, and trucks were crawling up the back end of the trailer sometimes because they want to go 90 and I want to go the speed limit. I want to be safe. But I make these plans and things. This trip there was a purpose for this trip. I went up to a city that I might be moving to later in the year. I went up there to check out what homes look like in the neighborhoods. I went to did another thing, which was just kind of officially bury my dad and then my mom with him. And there was some good purpose in that, and I was able to get some closure in that and see my brother and sister-in-law and things like that. But going into this trip, I had plans, but at the same time, along with life and alcoholism, I planned as much as possible, but I stayed ready for things that didn't go right. And some things didn't go right, but it was okay because I had taken care of all the things I needed to take care of so that I could roll with the punches when things didn't go right. And that's one thing in sobriety that's huge for me, is having these daily things that I do towards my sobriety that help me on a daily basis, that keep me ready for those things that I don't expect are going to happen. Those tragedies in life, or like a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, or even the good things that happen in life that may make me want to celebrate with a drink. Just being ready for those things that I don't expect, or a good old friend from out of town saying, "Hey, let's go get some beers." He doesn't know I'm sober. Things like that. And I have ways to deal with those situations now because I'm ready deep down. I'm living this life that I don't have to run from, and that really helps a lot. And the camping trip was real fun. And by the way, how did you guys like Marcus's little calls? Those last 2 weeks, they looked good to me. He gave some good information. I think he could. I don't think he needs me anymore. I don't know. It's good to be back and great to see you guys. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and for those of you looking to get and stay sober, if you want to get the tools that we use to get and stay sober and get all kinds of insight into what happens in your mind and changing your mindset and all kinds of stuff like that, and support the channel, the work that we're doing here, you could go over to talksober.com, click the big yellow button like this. It'll take you to the sign up page here. You just fill it out. It's $27 a month. You can cancel whenever you want. Very simple. What that'll do is it'll give you instant access to a program that we put together to help you guys get and stay sober. It's got little printouts and worksheets and all kinds of things. It's got a video about, I'm an alcoholic, what do I do now? And then it talks about all kinds of things. It's got a progress guide so you can go through and learn exactly where you're at in your sobriety journey. It's got a relapse prevention guide. And then here you have letters that I wrote based on what it took for me to get sober, what I learned, and different things that happened along the way. And this has been a work in progress for about the last 7 years. And I've gone through and made a letter, and you can actually watch a video that Terry made about the letter. It'll go through and give you a PDF of the letter so that you can print it out, put it in a binder, or take it with you, or just keep it on your phone or your computer or whatever. And then you could go through each day up to 30 days. And I would highly recommend that everyone go through this at least one time, because there's a lot of insights that you're going to get that will help you on your journey to sobriety. Again, Terry and I are not doctors or trained professionals or anything like that. This is just our experience and our strength and hope that helped us get sober. Different insights that we saw that we wish were in the recovery community, because I found that the recovery community is a lot about the community, but not so much about like what happens in our mind getting sober. And so that's why we put this together, and I think you guys will find it a breath of fresh air to really help you, whether you're on day 1, day 0, or day 5,000. I think this has something for everyone, and of course, it does help support the channel. So go over to talksober.com, click the yellow button, sign up here, welcome yourself to the Talk Sober family, and we got all kinds of stuff for you there. We're working on a forum that's almost done, where we can all interact with each other, which I think is good because, sometimes we don't want to put everything on a Facebook group. We want like a private little alcohol community where we can talk to each other, which is pretty cool. So again, that's talksober.com. Click the yellow button, sign up. You can also check out the other links we have here and get yourself all the tools that you need. That has helped us over the years.
Right on. Yeah, the program can really help you get in that sober mindset. And, even being in that sober mindset it helps you stay in it. And it's getting that sober mindset has helped me stay sober. Sometimes, part of being an addict is we relapse, and this can help you stay away from it. It's not going to guarantee it. You do still have to do things, on a consistent basis to stay sober. And with that being said, Mrs. B, I saw that you relapsed and you haven't been here in a while, and you couldn't face y'all. You can come back anytime. So don't be afraid of coming back and facing us. It's okay. This stuff happens. The important thing is, for any of you that are still drinking and are trying to quit or are new or whatever, you relapse. You got to try not to relapse, of course. I mean, you never know if you will make it back or not. But if you do and you're able to get back, just start where you are. It's okay. Whatever sobriety that you had before, you can use that. You can work with that. You may need to expand on it a little bit. It's okay. Start where you are today and just move forward. Anybody can get sober. If I get sober, anybody can. I was out of control. I was 40, oh, I think now 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I was high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all those things that go wrong with us. I had many of those things that tend to go wrong with people, and it did almost kill me. And I was able to get sober, and I'm reasonably healthy now. So you can do it.
Absolutely. Miss B says, "Thank you so much, Terry. I'm just so ashamed, but I got to do this." And remember, shame as an emotion, it comes from usually from your drinking and what you did with your drinking. But remember that the chemical dependency part is what's been controlling your mind. And if you understand that, it's kind of like, hey, people do interesting things under interesting circumstances. I would be a completely different person if I didn't eat for 10 days. Completely. You wouldn't even recognize me. You'd be like, this guy teaches people how to get sober. He's a lunatic. And if you understand that, it's very important to look at, because it's like, hey, this is a chemical issue. And once we solve the chemical issue, then we deal with the mind stuff and we start to get better, which is, I think, really helpful.
Yep. Al, you're going, good to see you, Al. Going on a trip to Tennessee next week to attend a wedding and golf. Got 7 months now. Good job. My friends in Tennessee know I stopped drinking and are happy. We've been friends since junior high school. Yeah, that can always be a dangerous situation, a wedding or something like that. What I've always done on those events is, or what I do in sobriety for those events is, I'm usually one of the first people there. I show up on time. A lot of times I'll bring my own beverage that's non-alcoholic that I'll enjoy. Sometimes you got to bring enough for other people because they see that you're drinking these whatever LaCroix or whatever you're drinking, and they want some too. So sometimes you want to bring extra or whatever, but that's a good tool to use. Another tool, especially for a wedding, is think about leaving after that cake or whatever. You know the time when people start to get a little bit too drunk, and maybe that's about time to go to the hosts and the wedding party and say, thank you very much. It was great. I got to go, and have an escape route as far as maybe your own transportation or something like that, going with another sober person. Some of those are some of the tools you can use. If any of you are going to these dangerous situations,
Mm-hmm. Also, on the plane, it's probably best to have a plan of what you're going to drink.
Yeah.
And also maybe throw your wallet with your cards and stuff up in your bag. That way it's harder to get to, because I think most planes you have to get a credit card out to buy alcohol. So make it a little bit more difficult for you. That's what I do. And then, makes it... Because the more barriers you have to get through to drink, the more you're going to be like, yeah, this probably isn't worth it. And I think that really helps.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, I was reading some of the comments here. Great comments. Appreciate them all.
Yeah, let's take a couple. Any stand out to you?
Well, I'll just read this last one. I should probably go back up, but sorry. Yvonne says, talk about self-sabotage. I tried to end my own life before I got sober 5 years ago. Feel good about myself now. Had to change the way I think. Yeah, that was... I didn't exactly try to kill myself, but I didn't care if I kept living. That was definitely thoughts that were in my mind when I was drinking. Just didn't matter to me, and now I do care, and I had realized there is some sort of a purpose for me, and don't know what it is, but I'll just keep on plugging along. That's what this can do. Lost a couple people in this pandemic that I know, and lost some of them in a real bad way with alcoholism, and it's not a pretty thing.
And I think also the key is to remember that your thoughts go in cycles, and what you're thinking usually isn't real. Like, oh, hey, my life's going down the tubes because of X, Y, and Z. Well, you're saying that your life is valid and worthwhile because of X, Y, and Z. When you're born, it doesn't matter who you are. You're valuable to people just because you're there, right? And the same thing happens throughout life, but we tend to put our value on external things. I'm valuable because of this. I'm valuable because of money. I'm valuable because of I'm a pastor, or I'm a executive, or whatever it is, and you place your value based on external things, when the universe is completely the opposite. It's like you're valuable just because you exist, and you're just as valuable as anyone else. And when you start to realize that your value doesn't come from something external, you start to realize that your life really isn't falling apart. Your value really hasn't gone anywhere. You're just in a different swing, right? If I was to go through, it reminds me of the story, which I've probably told before, where my dad hated winter. And when we speak winter, we're talking Southern California winter, which really isn't winter. And he would complain. I remember I'd come home from school and he'd be like, "Son, the dark ages are coming." And I'm like, "What? Are we going back into the 1400s? And what's going on? We're going to the dark ages?" He's like, "No, winter's coming." And I'm like, "Dad, it's like 60." He's like, "Yeah, but it gets dark early. The dark ages are coming. I hate winter." And he talked about how bad it was. And it's funny because if we went through life looking at winter as the end of the road for everything, yeah, we're going to be a little nuts. We're going to be a little crazy because we're looking at that like, oh, but to someone now, I can look at it and be like, well, winter comes after fall every year. And then after that comes spring and summer. And it's going to go round and round and round and round. And wherever you're at is just a cycle. Even the worst time of my life when I didn't want to be around anymore, it was a cycle. It gets better, it gets worse. It gets better, it gets worse. You wouldn't know the good if you didn't know the bad. Why do you think some of the people in alcoholics recovery are some of the happiest, most grateful people you've ever met? Some are like complete lunatics, but like me. But some are the happiest people you've ever met, and they're grateful. Why? Because we've been in the pits of despair. I wouldn't know this grateful life if I wasn't in the pit of despair. I wouldn't know happy if I didn't know sad. I wouldn't know calm if I didn't know anxiety. And what this does is we ride the waves and we say, "Oh my God, everything's terrible. It's so bad. You don't understand." Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But there's an ebb and a flow to life. There's an ebb and a flow. And usually it gets better. And usually it's not as bad as you think. Right? We live in, we got internet. We got fast enough internet to watch two guys on Talk Sober. We got all the knowledge in the world. We got food. We got coffee makers that'll make whatever kind of coffee you want with the push of a button. We got whatever food. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mine doesn't. Mine makes it all too strong, and my wife gets mad because I don't measure the scoops. I'm like, hey, today maybe I'll just have strong coffee. Tomorrow we're going to have weak coffee. The next day, we'll probably have yesterday's coffee because I made too much. But you look at it and it's like, hey, there's an ebb and a flow, and it's going to be okay. And even your worst day, it's going to be okay. Just make it through it. You'll be all right. Right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that's a really good thing to look at is, hey, you know what? It's an ebb and a flow. Right now, you're just in a cycle. All your anxiety. Marcus, you don't understand. You don't understand. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I do know it's not permanent.
Right. And Jiz, you mentioned, I notice the longer I get sober, the more irritable I get and more stressed out. Not sure how to deal with that. I did not actually have that problem when I got sober. When I finally got sober for this last time and had been able to maintain some sobriety. Before I changed that mindset and really started to work on myself and my attitude towards things, yes, I completely relate to what you're talking about, man. Totally. I was irritable, definitely more stressed out. Didn't know what to do. I didn't have any tools to work with. We both mentioned gratitude a lot, and that was one of the keys for avoiding that irritability. But how? How do you do gratitude? I mean, it can be as simple and it sounds stupid, but for me it worked, which is writing down a few things every morning that you're grateful for. But the other things for me is like today, it's what do I get to do today? Because if I was drinking, I don't get to do anything except drink and, maybe go outside. It's really that simple. Today, after this, I get to go walk my dog out in the it's a beautiful sunshiny day today. Temperature is going to be pretty good. I get to do that today. I'm very fortunate. I got to go on this trip and bury my parents, see some houses that I might move to, things like that. Go on this wonderful trip with my wife and a dog and a cat and a camper, I got to do that, deal with all the situations. I get to do these things, even if the things aren't so pleasant, Later on today, I get to talk with a guy that's really struggling with his addiction, but I get to do that. I get to try to help him. And hopefully, maybe he can find the answer. Maybe not. I don't know. But at least I get to try. You know, those things really helped me get out of that irritable situation. It really started to help change my brain and change my thoughts and start to go in a more positive direction. I don't think about the things or I try not to think about those negative things. Since I got back from the trip, I've had the news on maybe 10 minutes. So, staying away from that. When I wake up in the morning, turn on some music instead of the news. Wow, it's amazing what that does for my attitude. I don't sit there and watch all these negative things that, just watch it for 10 minutes. I got the general gist of what's going on in the world. That's good enough.
Yep.
It's all right.
I actually noticed I had to reset my internet browser on one of my computers because it just kept crashing. And it tried to log me in Facebook, but it didn't have my password saved. So this was like 2 months ago, and I just was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to use Facebook because I forgot my password. I've noticed the last 2 months have been a lot easier. I haven't gotten sucked into the Facebook rabbit hole, and I'm more productive. And little things like that will affect our mind, and it's basically, are you going to control what you allow yourself to think about, or are you going to let everything else control it? Because they want to. They want to control it. They want to make you buy stuff and all this other things. But if we understand that, hey, I can be in charge of this, and it's kind of like an output-input thing, watch the news all day, yeah, it's going to make you stressed out. If you go on the Facebook all day, we watch this with my kids. We have two kids, and Instagram sucks. Like, I'm so glad I didn't grow up in the age of Instagram. Like, I feel bad for kids that grow up with this because, back in my day, you get made fun of at school, and then you go home and you're okay. Now you get made fun of at school, and it continues on your phone and follows you everywhere, and you got to see what everyone's doing all the time. And, back in my day, people would go hang out without you. You didn't know about it. You're like, whatever, I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone's doing homework. Now you see it everywhere. And it's kind of like just a mess for mental illness. It's like I don't want to figure out what we're going to have in 20 years from now. But just telling my kids, hey, put the phone up at night. Go to bed with a fresh mind. Don't take that phone in your room. It makes a difference. It makes a big difference. And one of the other things, too, is these social media companies run on an algorithm based on what you show your attention to. So, like, if I go down the rabbit hole and I watch a bunch of politics videos on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these, what are they going to show me more of? More of that. So you're in an endless cycle of loop of like, oh my gosh, it seems like everything's about this. And it's interesting, which is good for us because the more you watch our sobriety stuff, the more you're going to see sobriety stuff, hopefully from us. That's why we ask you to smash that like button, because that helps people see the video. But at any rate, you guys get the idea there. And you got to be at the guard of your mind and understand what's going on.
Yeah. Jiz, I was on a trip, 2,300-mile trip. That's where I was. That's the answer to that question. And actually, Marcus, at least the politics aren't quite as bad on Facebook anymore. In those last 2 months, you haven't been there. They've stepped that down quite a bit.
Maybe it's because I left. Everyone was like, we can't get under his skin anymore. We quit.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was good because you were getting in those arguments that have nothing to do with you. Get on those strings and then have to answer the person you've never met in your life for 2 hours. That's a painful one. Although that stuff is all over YouTube, that's for sure. especially if you click on one of those things and start watching, definitely. But yeah, it's a daily life. The self-sabotage thing, sabotage. Um, yeah, it's very common. I see it all the time. One person I work with, it's just it they're having a real difficult time getting out of that. And one of the problems that this person has is sort of their fault, sort of not their fault. They have a lot of medical issues. The medical issues are from decades and decades of drinking. That's where they've pretty much come from. And those medical issues, now there's surgeries that need to happen. And the person keeps going out because they get the surgery, then they get the pain pills, and then the pain pill, they run out of those, so they go to drinking, and that's the general direction that it goes every single time. And now they have to try to struggle with this. So it can be difficult to not self-sabotage. I mean, is this person really self-sabotaging? They need the surgeries. Do they need the pain pills? I don't know. I had a few surgeries and just took Advil, but I don't know what their pain level is. I was okay, but I can't put that on them. It's a difficult thing. So it's something you really have to watch out for and try to be self-aware. Try to understand what's going on in your own mind. Is if you can, I mean, the main thing is just not picking up that first drink. Easier said than done. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's something I worry about too, is like what's going to happen if I need to have something that alters my chemistry. And you got to really look at that and say, what am I going to do? And for me, I try to set safeguards of like, I don't want to get too far. I want to be able to, have something if I have to, like, pain level or whatever. But I don't want to get too far to where my mind can't see its way out. And that's what happened with my drinking. I got so far that I couldn't see which way was up. I couldn't see what life would look like. I couldn't do that, and we have to be on the guard of what are we going to do? What are we going to allow to affect our mind? What are we going to allow to affect our body and our thoughts? And I think that's really important, because if you're not in charge, something else is going to be.
Yeah.
And it might be, it might be a chemical. It might be the TV. It might be the news or the Facebooks or whatever. It might be all these things that can cause you to think a different way. It's like that Alan Watts quote, a person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts, chatter in the skull, and he loses touch with reality. And when you lose touch of reality, which is life, trees, the sun, right? Those are reality. And there's actually a children's book I'm working on creating, talking about this exact same thing, which I'll share with you guys when it's done. My daughter's going to illustrate it. She's very good at art, in my opinion. I think she's pretty good. And it's something that really goes to show that what we name things, the boxes we put things in, are not real. A tree isn't defined by the fact that I call it a tree. It's so much more. But the minute that I call it a tree, all the magic is gone. And now it's just a freaking tree. There's trees everywhere. Get them out of here. The other day our neighbors were cutting down trees like every day. And that's fine. I guess that's, the way the world works. Sometimes you don't want a tree there. I don't know. And you have to look at that and say, hey, we've lost the magic of the things that should be magical. Like the sun is out every day. The clouds are out every day. My heart beats automatically every day. I breathe. I don't have to sit there and go, breathe. Up, got to breathe. It's automatic. My body heals things automatically. Like, that's amazing. You can go to a scientist and they're like, well, that's the blood clotting issue of this, and this is why it happens, and then the magic's gone. Right now, I'm glad that guy figured it out, because then he could be like, hey, you need this ointment or whatever. But I think most of our life is going through, and the magic is gone. Because we just describe things. And we say, this is bad, this is good. And people get, just freaked out because the stock market goes down for a day. It's like, what really changed? Well, there was some numbers in this thing on my computer, and now they're lower than they were yesterday. If you wait long enough, they'll probably go back up. That's just kind of the nature of how the stock market works, unless you just invest in the wrong stuff. I don't know. But you look at it and it's like there's ebbs and flows. And we live our life as if these numbers on screens and these things people say on screens are real. People are trained. This is what beautiful means. Young women growing up, it's terrible. It's like, this is how you should be. Says who? Says who? That's what beauty looks like? Well, 100 years ago, what we thought was beauty would be heavy today. Like, I think it was Marilyn Monroe would be considered overweight today. One of the most beautiful people 100 years. What, did that change? No, our perception changed. Nothing really changed. And you look at it and it's like, beauty is what beauty is. It's not something bought at a store. It's not something on the external outside. It's something more. And when you understand that life is so much more than your description of life, you realize that the map that you made up in your world, or in your mind of what the world is not the territory. When Terry went on his road trip and he went from California up to Oregon, he didn't get out and look for the line on the ground that said Oregon, because it doesn't exist. There might be a sign that says welcome to Oregon, and it's probably not even on the real territory, right? It's probably like too far or too whatever. That line doesn't exist. There really is no difference between California and Oregon. But someone drew a line in the sand and said, up here, we have no sales tax, and you can't pump your own gas, right? If you get out in Oregon and you try to pump your own gas, they get mad at you because they pump the gas for you. You don't do it. Why? Because some guy made a law that said, hey, we're going to have people pump gas here. And what is it? It's a line in it's nothing more than when you were a kid and you shared a room with your brother or sister and you put tape down the middle and said, this is my territory and this is mine. It's no different. When we realize the world was created for all of us, and until we stop it, like right now, if you want a political rant, right now it's like, oh, the United States of corporations, and corporations own this and corporations own that. For what? To what end? Is that serving people? Maybe, maybe not. But someone drew a line in the sand and said, this is this, that is this. Instead of saying, holy crap, we have a really cool Earth that spins around and provides food automatically. Like, automatically. We don't have to go find it. There's no shortage. It comes out of the ground. Like you eat a cow and another cow comes out. And it's like, whoa, hey, wait a minute. That's pretty cool. And we look at it and it's like, the magic is there. Anyway, I'll stop my rant of craziness.
Yeah. Responsibility. Sobriety is my responsibility. And, that's one thing that I have to realize on a daily basis, that it's my responsibility, nobody else's. A lot of you were talking about the dogs, and my dog has been wonderful in my sobriety, and I lost my other one in July, and that dog saw me through the worst days of my drinking and all that. And it was great to have him around, and definitely helpful in my sobriety. But the sobriety is not my responsibility. Having a dog or getting a dog didn't get me sober. So I would caution anybody to think that going and getting something is going to help you. I mean, I wouldn't want to put a dog through a relapse or anything like that. And so just be careful with that. Just to understand that it's you, it's me. I have to take care of my own sobriety. Nobody else's. Other people want me to get sober. They want me to stay sober. But really, it's me that has to do the work, and I'm the one that has to be responsible about what I do, and I have to be responsible about not self-sabotaging, and recognize it when I do, because it's going to happen, and deal with it at that time. Try and deal with it in a good direction. So there's.
Absolutely.
Lots of comments about kind of gratitude things. Ben says, for me, the owls near my home are magical. That's where I find beauty. I hear the owls in the trees around my house, but what I see are the turkeys. We got turkeys all over. Right now, the males are strutting their stuff and trying to show off for the females. It's pretty cool. They just walk down the street, car drives up, and the car has to stop because the males are just like, they don't care. And they're actually pretty beautiful birds. Pretty awesome. It's great to see stuff like that. Donna says, I loved having my gas pumped in order to have. That's pretty funny. Yeah, they wanted to keep those jobs around for people, so that was part of the reason. And still, the gas is $1 less a gallon in Oregon than it is at my house.
It's $1 less everywhere than it is in California.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's see here.
We got to support them not filling our potholes.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Julian's got 1 year and 7 months. Congrats on that. And guys, if you like what you're hearing and you want to support the channel and what we're doing here, feel free to go over to talksober.com. You can go right like this to talksober.com. Click the big yellow button. It'll take you to the sign-up form. For less than $1 a day, you can get access to our sobriety course. You just fill this out with your name, last name, email. You can see it's a secure form. And you can cancel whenever you want, $27 a month. And you can help us out with what we're doing here and get all kinds of tools, videos, letters, MP3s, MP4s about how to get and stay sober. I think this will really help you. Even if you've been sober for a while, this will give you some of the insight into the crazy world that is my sobriety and a little bit of the crazy world that is Terry's sobriety as well. All right. Any last minute words of wisdom?
I think I said them.
All right.
Yeah, self-sabotage. Don't do it.
Yep. And word of wisdom.
Just the most important thing is don't drink. One day at a time. If you're trying to quit, go get some help. I really needed it. I thought I could do it on my own. I couldn't. I've seen many people try to do it on their own, and they never succeed. They always need help, and just do that. And try to keep it simple.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here. We'll be here next week. If you want to support the channel, talksober.com. Click this button here. Sign up. I think as of right now, we're making an average of about $4 per weekly stream. So that'll help us out with what we're doing here. Some of them get demonetized because of the subject matter, but most of them are okay. So you can go to talksober.com, help support what we're doing here. Click the button, sign up like this, get the access, go through the stuff, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Subscribe, smash a like button, and we'll see you in the Talk Sober community over at talksober.com. And now I got to find the button that turns this thing off. Thanks, guys. See you next week.